But we forgot one thing, we didn't do any market validation. Again, so we failed, we didn't get the grants. And then we went out to really talk to as many people as possible about our platform. People were telling us, antibody drug conjugates, why are you doing it? It doesn't work.
What led to the decision?
What did it? No, the network and the money.
China seems to be really big on ADCs as well.
There's a lot happening in China. There's a lot of ADC development happening, and quality is really good. It's competition that we look at seriously and take seriously.
Bienvenue to a new episode. I'm your host Philip, and on this show I'm interviewing the best Europeans in biotech to help you grow. There are very few biotechs in Europe that are founder-led, young founder under 40, and that have scaled in the hundreds of millions of euro raised. And actually, I know only two. Thomas Clausel from Owkin, who was on the show before, and Dominik from Tubulis. So I went to Munich to chat with him. We were in touch before, but it's the first time I met him offline. He's a true founder and has an amazing story of building an ADC champion. So here's my conversation with Dominik, and if you're enjoying it, please hit the follow button. All right, welcome to the show, Dominik.
Welcome to Tubulis. It's so great to have you.
Thank you. I want to start with your personal background and how you got to be, let's say, one of the best biotech founders, CEOs under 40 in Europe. It's not that many in that level. And actually, we talked about you with Andreas Schmidt. I just mentioned as well, and he mentioned that you come from a really quite big life science family as well. I'm wondering how, first, if you can tell a bit more about this and how it impacted you to where you are now and to your journey.
Yeah, it's true. I've been very exposed to entrepreneurship from the get-go. My father is a biotech founder as well. One of the very early days in Germany, and that was an experience for me because it really showed me what it means. What does it mean to build a company? All the good and the bad. And from very early on, I had the motivation, and I was looking for things. I want to do something myself. I want to also spin something out or build a new technology. One example is I was 12 or so, and I was at the doctor, and then I went to the pharmacist, and I had to take this paper with me. I was like, why do I have to take this paper thing? Why can it not be automatic? And why do I need to take the prescription? So I thought, okay, I can do some web pages. So probably I will be able to program a system that enables you to do these digital prescriptions. Yeah. And then I took all my energy into it and I went to pharmacists and to the associations and also, hey, this is my idea. Let's do that. And the feedback was, our customers are 70, 80 years old. They love the paper. Yeah. Don't take the paper away from them. And it's too complicated, exactly like that. So from that, I took two learnings for me. The first one was, know your customers, the end customers, not the first customer, but really the one that is using the product. And also, in the end, I was like, I should have done it. And tried it out and I got, one interaction, two interactions, and I got scared. Mm-hmm. And then the take for me was, if I wouldn't have been alone, I would have done it. Mm-hmm. So find someone who you can really rely on to go to that journey and really know your customers.
It's amazing lessons also for where you are now. It resonates a lot. I started building stuff when I was 11 as well, and building. Not a business, but more outside business, and then started a web agency and stuff. And I was always building, so I can 100% relate. And I think that's a trait that is, to me, like a sign that you're really a founder comes from deep down. When as a young, you're already building things. Even if you don't need money and if you don't need anything, it's a very good sign that you will you're quite made to be entrepreneur.
It's really always this looking for. It's so much fun. That's the point. It's so much fun to come up with ideas and try to get them into reality.
Absolutely. And then, so down the line, then you went to study basically life sciences, I think, chemical biology, if I'm correct, or
chemistry and business.
Chemistry and business. I'm curious how you then balance the urge to found and the continuing to study, especially when you did your PhD. I had some challenges there.
Which I can totally understand.
Yeah.
I mean, there were many other ideas in between which failed. But I was blessed because I was looking for a project where I could do my PhD and that can translate. And I was blessed to find someone I was then working with on that project, which is now our CSO, Jonas, who also saw that potential. And then we were basically, I was finding the first half of what my learnings that I mentioned, I found there. So it was actually easy to stay in it because it was the project to be founded.
That's amazing. It's amazing you went into your PhD with already the entrepreneurial mindset. Yeah, and then how did it go doing the PhD? Like between the PhD and then the spin out, like what were the big steps?
So we were we started to work on the technology and the platform, and we were really excited about the results that we were getting. And I was Jonas is a fantastic scientist. I know science, I can do it, but he's fantastic. He's really good. So that was kind of also our role, and I was always trying to, how can we get funds for that so that we can independently work on that. And that's how we were doing things. I was still in Berlin back then, he was in Munich, and it was prior to video calls, so we were actually on the phone all the time. And it was super funny because at one time Jonas told me that the LMU came to him saying, here must be something wrong. This is the biggest phone bill in the entire department. Is your phone broken? And it was not, because we were talking all the time. So, and then we were actually in Germany. You have these fantastic translational programs that you can apply for from out of the university. Exist Forschungstransfer.
And the Go.bio after.
Yeah, is similar to Go.bio, exactly. Yeah. And it's non-dilutive funding, fantastic. So we did that. But I forgot one thing. We wrote a grant. I thought, super good. But we forgot one thing of my learnings from the beginning. I blanked about it. We didn't do any market validation. Again. So we failed. We didn't get the grants. And then we went out to really talk to as many people as possible about our platform, the positioning of it, what we could do with it. People were telling us, antibody drug conjugates, why are you doing it? It doesn't work. And we were trying we were saying all the time, that's why we do it. But the explanation we were trying to find why we do it and how we position it, and we did via market validation. And then we got the grants, and then basically from that on, we were able to do further validation, and then founded the company and did some VC finance.
I like that a lot. I like that market validation parts, because I feel like, especially, let's say in Europe, probably especially even in Germany, where you always approach it from a science and then we'll find an application, but I think it's obvious, like, I have good science, so there will be an application, but I think it's not that easy. Can you maybe share a bit more there on some of the lessons as well you had there on, like, for potential founders listening to us, like, on the market validation, how you approached it?
First of all, talk to as many people as possible.
I guess many different people.
And I mean, you will hear a lot of different things. I think what you really need to find out your way and master in the end is to filter the important information that you get, because you will hear everything basically. But then also really try to get something concrete out of these interactions. And for us, I mean, back then it was really, we were starting to, maybe we can do material transfer agreements, letter of intents, these kinds of things. And in the end, only easy to sign paper, but they meant quite a lot. And we were...
It's a validation. Yep.
It's a validation. It's a validation. And of course, also listen to what people say, but don't take everything for granted as well. I think this is a fine line.
Yeah. How did you manage on this, on filtering feedback? I think one of the, at least also for me, one of the key lessons was like, do it for long enough. Like enough perseverance to let the time to have positive, negative feedback. So like, I always told, and even now with a company, but La Biotech, we're like, okay, we do at least 18 months. Full-time. I mean, we are full-time was at the end of our studies, like doing it to see if it works or not. How did you, like, I mean, I guess you were kind of doing your PhD at the end of the PhD as well. But did you have also a bit of this of like, okay, I do whatever it takes, whatever happens, I do at least 12, 18 months.
We had that once. It's funny that you ask it. We had it once. And that was actually after failing for these first grants, and it was one failure then after the other for similar reasons, but they came in, and then we were like, of course, we said about it. So if, I don't know the exact timing, but by, let's say, the end of the year, there's not a light at the end of the tunnel, then we'll just stop, and that's going to be fine. It worked out at the end, but this was really the only situation. And I think it's also part of my personality that I'm not thinking about this too much. For me, it's a healthy piece of naiveness.
I think it's amazing for people listening also, like, I mean, it always sounds, if you look at Tubulis now, and if you look backwards, it always sounds quite like, I mean, first it looks easier than it is, and it looks more obvious. But when you are in the moment, it's really not. And that's, I think, one of the most difficult things about startups in tech or in biotech, in startups in general.
Yeah.
Like we were also 3 months away from stopping. And I think most of founders I know in biotech or tech, they had this moment very close to failure. And I think it's very hard to manage this moment where you wake up one morning, okay, I'm doing it, it will work. And the other morning you're like, fuck, what am I doing here? Like it will never work.
That's true.
It's very hard.
And I think it's only natural that you sometimes have this. But for that, it's so good that if you're not doing it alone.
Yeah.
I'm so sure there are so many out there that can do it alone. I'm happy that I don't have to do it alone. And it helps me a lot because then you can just simply, you have someone to talk to about it, and then you'll find a solution.
Yeah, I can, I think especially in a more deeper tech, biotech, it's so complicated, so hard that alone I think it's almost impossible. I mean, besides if you arrive with like, whatever, you made a massive exit and you arrive with 100 million, whatever, own capital, and then, okay, it's maybe a bit of a different game, but otherwise,
Yeah, that's true. And I think it's also, I mean, we are looking at this way, and it also helps us, or guides us a lot how we actually interact with our team. It's a team effort.
Yeah.
And it's one of the most amazing achievements that we actually have. That we have such an amazing team where it's just so much, it's a privilege to be working with these talented people, and everybody is so committed and everybody's running in the basically same direction, and it's all in for getting this innovation where we are so convinced about into patients and really understanding, okay, how much impact can we now have for these patients? And that is, that's possible because it's a joint ride.
And that's what matters a lot at the end of the day. The team is the key. Maybe, I mean, we took a bit of a parallel in the founder's story, but maybe going back to you were in Berlin, Jonas was in Munich, and then you both decided to set up the entity in Munich. Why was, I mean, kind of there's always a little bit this Berlin-Munich competition, but what was what led to the decision? What did he
No, the lead word and the money. But I mean, back then you had
money is a good answer.
money is a good answer, but it was in the time of the non-dilutive funding, and we had a German Exist-Forschungstransfer, which you can apply for everywhere. But then we were also applying for grants like M to the power of 4. It's basically a Bavarian grant. So
okay.
More grants in Bavaria.
Oh, it's a good. It's a good example also of how grants can work. Also, work successfully, and also how the grants and the infrastructure is a key factor for ecosystem. And
yes,
it's a good example. Berlin definitely lacks a bit, and even if I've been there and stuff, but from a infrastructure for sure, Munich is better set up and has a bit more critical size.
That's true. But
a bit more.
It's a bit more. Berlin is changing also from that end rapidly, and it's true what you say in Bavaria, but there's also a need to continue be in that position and to continue to think. We could do a little bit more there.
Yeah, I think all over Europe we could. True. And it doesn't really matter at the end if it's Munich, Berlin. I think it's really Europe, US starts to be a bit different, but even then it doesn't really matter. We had so many guests on the show, and at the end, I think one trait I saw in many of them was they're thinking very European or global from the beginning, and they don't really care if they are in Berlin, Munich, wherever, small city Dijon, small city in Spain. They just try to be very global, have a US presence. I saw you guys have also opened in the US pretty early. I think that's a key thing.
And it does not really. It depends a little bit how you want to build your company, of course. Also, for us, another key reason to be in Munich is the talent, the scientists, the big amount of the talent pool is just big.
Yeah, no, that's good. Maybe talking about still on the kind of founder-led. I think that there's really, as I mentioned, kind of in the first sentence, but the first intro, but there's not that many, let's say, founder-led biotechs in Europe in general, especially people who came out of the PhD and who reach a critical size in where you guys are, let's say, raising 3 digits rounds. First, there's not that many biotechs who raise 3 digits rounds, but who are with a founder at CEO. I think in the US it's quite a big thing. I think in the last few years, where some tech people come into biotech and what the fuck is happening here? Why is there no founder scientist to make it a company? You have Curie.bio or Curie.bio, who specifically focus on financing or only founder-led biotechs. Maybe you can talk a bit about this. What's your experience like? Why? Yeah. How do you see it?
What is a better model, or
how did you manage that? Why is there so few?
I think it's a very intense, tough journey, and you need to challenge yourself also personally all the time, and not only the company, but you also need to challenge yourself. How can I grow, and how can I create most value for that company? And for me, one of the key ways to do that, and I don't know whether this is the reason why I'm still here, but I always wanted to hire extremely talented people that are much more talented than I am in their specific expertise, and really ensure that they can do what is best for the company. So my job is really all the others, they are in the position to, okay, what do I need to do for this drug to be successful? I don't care about the budget. What is the best thing for it? And then they come to me, and my job is to try to find money that we can do that. And that's a little bit how I look at my role, one of the parts of my role here. And of course, my role has changed tremendously, and you need to be willing to do that. You need to be happy in that role as well. So it's not for everyone. And I can totally understand if someone says, no, but I love the science. I want to be involved in the science. I don't have crazy. I mean, if you compare it to the beginning, where it was basically in every science call, I'm not in science calls anymore. Only in the ones where basically a lot of discussions have already happened and conclusions have already been taken.
So even ASCO, you didn't even go to ASCO, right?
I didn't go to ASCO this time. Okay. We had a lot of other things going on where my contribution was more valuable, and that's why I didn't go to ASCO. But I mean, ASCO was amazing.
Yeah, that's I like that. I think there's definitely a personal fit as well. Can you talk a bit about, I mean, I think for the founding scientist, it's a bit more common to have CSO who stay, but especially in the CEO position, especially in Europe, it rapidly tends to be, okay, let's bring in a experienced CEO. I guess you had this challenge or these discussions, especially I guess with the VCs. How was that thing?
I mean, I think as long as everybody has a feeling that the current CEO of a company is the one who can drive value best for the company, this discussion will not happen.
So the discussion didn't happen with the VCs? Hard to believe you.
No. I mean, I was not exposed to such a discussion.
Okay.
And but it would, I mean, in the end, if it would happen, it would be okay if we come to the conclusion that the company's in a phase where someone else can do the job better. And that's how I look at it. And that's why I'm also super relaxed about it, because I'm the CEO because I want this company to grow and I am pretty sure about that I am the one who can have this company grow and bring it to success. If we come to the situation where this is not the case anymore, it's also time to say, maybe now someone else.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, I like it at the end, I think. At the end, I don't think there is a bit like the Cure Bio and stuff in the US, which I'm not too fan, is like this, one model is better than the other model. At the end of the day, I think it's very multifactorial, as you said.
That's exactly the point.
And both models, I think, are, even if you take a lot of models, and can work very well. I think
it's super.
And it works less well for the ego of some of the founding scientists, but it can work in general. That's good. You agree on this. Actually, it's funny because I looked up also for when I saw that, and kind of this founder-led biotech, and I looked into in Europe which ones are founder-led, and what is especially, let's say, founders from a PhD. And you have actually a lot of successful biotechs, so some of the bigger ones that was founder-led PhDs, but then it took. I mean, I listed some of them. Like Molecular Partners, actually, I worked with them, and they're still I think there were 6 PhDs or something, and still the PhDs. It took them a while to grow, but I mean, and Morphosis was the same. Attis, I think, was postdoc or PhD. Imatex was the same. Selectis in France was the same. CureVac was the same. I mean, some of the big biotechs actually were the founder. I think sometimes it might take a bit longer, especially for the maybe founder CEO to also get the experience and all the skills. I mean, there's a lot of skills to learn, but at the end of the day, it seems that it works quite well as well. Yeah, exactly. On the younger one, I think the only one that comes to my mind is Thomas Clausel, actually from Owkin. it's a bit more on the tech bio side, and he was on the show as well. I think it's you guys are the two, I think, if not the two only ones who are in this like range in this scale and still in the 40, at least. I don't know any other. Maybe you can, if you know, you can add.
No?
No. Really, congrats on that. So, I mean, it's certainly impressive. To finish on the personal side, I mean, and then I want to move really on Tubulis and really on going into the bio part. What I heard also actually from Stephanie was that you have also on the family side, you have 3 kids, and that was also, I mean, not surprising, but quite a thing as well to build a company at that scale and having a family at the same time. How can you elaborate a bit on this or share some of the challenges, or how did you manage to do both at the same time?
I mean, first of course, with tremendous support from my family, from my wife, but it's also, but the challenge sometimes for me is you cannot be the perfect father and you cannot be the perfect CEO at the same time. That just doesn't work. But what you can do is maximize the time that you, for example, have with the kids, in the sense that it's super high quality time, and that then when there's no email, no phone in that time, right? These are some kind of principles that I try. No, I don't always succeed, but there's things that I try to do to manage that. And it's also, I mean, there's a lot of energy. I have 3 boys. It's a lot of energy, and it's sometimes tough, but it's also really great. Yeah. So it's just giving me also a lot of energy.
That's I mean, I'm now thinking about kids or having the discussion with my wife as well. So it's kind of, I can feel in one of the challenges I have, especially as a founder, is like, especially now it's kind of very early stage, there's a lot of uncertainty, but it's kind of managing this and there's definitely some trade-offs somewhere. What kind of trade-offs did you have to make?
Yeah, well, again, I mean, the trade-off is, for me, that it's impossible to be perfect in everything at the same time. You can be, you need to find times when you're fully perfect for the kids, and then when it's really is needed, you need to be perfect for the company. But it's challenging sometimes to be there at the same time. That's kind of the trade-off. But of course, it also you can also, early on, you can interact and talk with your kids about this and trying to find out what they need and how you can support them best. And I think this gives a lot of connection also.
That's fair. I think, especially if there is 3, I don't know how close they're together, but that can be challenging versus, 1 is already quite challenging, 2, 3,
quite close. Yeah. But that's also fun. It's also, it's good.
Let's see. Let's see for myself. Maybe I will message you at some point. Yeah.
Always.
Always. Oh, it could actually, and I quite like this. Like, I cannot be perfect, but I can, let's say, try to be perfect, or on this mindset. I think it's also quite a founder mindset. Like, usually a lot of founders are very perfectionists in general, but one mindset I like to apply quite a lot and goes in that direction is like, I would just try to do my best. So try to be the best CEO and the best father at the same time, or in my case, whatever else. I just try to do my best with what's in my control, and then
let's see. Yeah, and also understand what is actually the best mean for your kids.
Yeah,
doesn't need to. You feel as the best is actually
know your customers, I guess.
what they need.
Yeah, no, great. Maybe moving to Tubulis. On the technology, you mentioned you're in the ADC space. Can you describe a bit broadly you have platform company.
Yeah.
Describe it broadly, where you're at now.
Yeah. I mean, ADCs is super hot space, right? And it's great to be in that space. Obviously, helps us a lot that there's so much attention on the format. But what we wanted to do, and I mean, when we started, I already mentioned it before, everybody was like, okay, it doesn't work. Why are you doing that? Pharma companies were shutting down their the ADC units.
It's crazy because it's not even 10 years ago.
Not too long ago.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But that's what happened. And of course, everybody's asking, yeah, but they just closed. So why are you doing it now? And what we want to, I mean, now there's so much has been done in this space. We have so much knowledge now, and we try to harvest that knowledge and really use it to make try to get these formats to fulfill their full promise. We have, right now, ADCs in the clinics approved. We see a lot of patient benefit when it comes to overall response rates. Patients do respond, and we really see that these molecules can deliver and reduce tumor burden. But the duration of response actually is not that different. It is improved, but it's not the same of a difference compared to chemotherapy. And that's what we want to do and want to address with our platform, and where we have been trying to make sure that we don't impact the antibodies' properties, even though we load them with a lot of super hydrophobic molecules, and make sure that these antibodies actually don't interact with healthy tissues and can actually deliver constantly over a very long time frame payload to the tumor, so that the payload then can really actually destroy the tumor and reduce tumor burden. And we do that by different combinations. It's a lot of, there's flexibility. That's what we want to have when we design ADCs. It's different to what Seattle Genetics has. That linker, one payload, and they tried it for many different targets. We think every ADC, in worst case, every ADC looks different.
Okay. Yeah, because I saw even an early presentation you gave was really this like combination of the antibody, the linker, and the payload, but you had some technology around there. Can you be a bit more specific on what's the actual technology in terms of doing these combinations?
Yeah. So when it comes to, antibodies, we have antibody experts in house. We get antibodies from external. We in-license them, but it's not like we are a target innovation company. It's not like we are antibody engineer pros. That's not our core.
You're not German.
No, we're not. But our core expertise really lies within the chemistry and how we can use this to create these ADCs. So we attach things to an antibody. We do that via, for example, the TopTech technology. We do it via the P5 technology. Independence of what we attach, one is better than the other. That's where we have flexibility. We can attach 2, 3, 2, 4, 6, 8, even 12. Payload doesn't matter, and we always have these, we call it biophysical properties of the antibodies. And then we have various linkers with different solubility enhancers, cleavage mechanisms, and we have a tool that we call ALCO5, which is basically now at the other part of the spectrum. So if you have antibody, linker, payload, then P5 TopTech is how you add things to the antibody, and ALCO5 is how you add payloads and
to the linker.
Yeah, to the linker, exactly. And this has also been super limited. And with ALCO5, we now open up the space of things that we can actually attach and we can deliver to go to new mode of actions, more integrated mode of actions, have an answer to and a resistancy, be able to treat patients. Enhertu is super paved the way for ADCs now, topoisomerase 1 inhibitors. Everybody works on it. We also, our lead asset, are making use of these payloads, but we also start to see patients with resistance now. So there is always a need to continue to innovate and bring new mode of actions, and that's what we enable with Alco5.
Yeah. I understand that, and I heard also that, from my understanding, that the increased amount of payload is also really a challenge, as in you can attach 2, 4, but once you want to 8, or you even mentioned 12, that's very hard, and you are one of the only ones who can attach so much instead of a very stable conformation. That's correct.
Yeah, I think, it's the why is it hard? Because you put so much things to an antibody that where the antibody is not made for. So basically, it's too much burden, kind of.
Yeah, that's the drug antibody ratio.
Exactly, and then you have bad biophysical properties. So it starts to aggregate, or you have premature cleavage of linker payload because of chemistry not being good. You have unspecific interactions with healthy tissues, and that's basically, I think, we are not the only ones that can do a high DEL, but we are one of the only ones, if not the only one, that can do it and still make sure that we remain the properties of the antibody that it had in the first place.
How easy is it to measure this antibody property?
There's various different ways of doing it. So you can do hydrophilic interaction chromatography, and then you measure directly the hydrophobicity of the molecule and how it changes. You can also always measure the binding. You can measure aggregation. You can do pharmacokinetics studies where you see, do I have aggregation? Do I have increased clearance, which could be meaning you have increased unspecific interactions.
Okay.
This kind of.
My question the other way around was how easy is it to prove for Tubulis that you can do 8, 12 and still have very high biophysics?
Yeah. In the end, it comes to half-life. What does it do in a living organism? How long can the antibody actually be exposed?
Okay, yeah. That's good, because I saw also as you said, ADCs are just super hot. We can talk a bit later about it on the whole space. It's fascinating space what's happening at the moment, but it's really hot. But I also wondering where the innovation really was, because I saw one exit was Mablink in France was last year. I think was one of the biggest exit in French biotech last year to I think it was J&J.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
But they were really on the linker technology. I believe Genmab's acquisition, what was it? Genmab,
Flot.bio.
Yeah, was also, I think, on the linker.
It was a folate receptor alpha targeting ADC.
Yeah,
they bought the product.
Yeah, and so, I think, at least I remember listening to an interview from Jan from Genmab. He was saying that they had also linker technology that Genmab didn't have, I guess. But
yeah,
so I was just wondering exactly where the differentiation is. Because also one thing about ADC is if ADC is too crowded. I will show you the graph, but it was in short this figure. Well, it was just. I guess you know that kind of figure, but it was there's just in your case topo inhibitors, you have whatever 53 in the clinics was the same.
It's massive.
With the same payload, and some in phase 1, 2. On the linker, sounds there's of course a lot of options, but also a lot of people doing something. So,
yep.
But I think you answered already quite well on how you differentiate and how what at least the technology makes you unique. So and also what I just saw. The great news I think was last week, you dosed the first patient, or recently at least.
We dosed the first patient, yeah.
So you're a clinical company now.
Clinical company.
Amazing.
Very exciting too.
Yeah. So that's a phase 1 to A, and at the same time you got fast track, and we got on the same program. If it was in the same week.
Very shortly after, we got fast track.
So that's amazing. Can you tell a bit more on the dosing and the fast track of also how you differentiate there in that program?
Yeah, and this is So this program is happy to be targeting ADC for treating patients in ovarian and non-small cell lung cancer.
And NaPi2b was not in the crowded space thing.
Oh, it's actually we are, and the uniqueness of the target is that it's quite well understood, and we are first in class for that target, and we are super convinced based on the preclinical data that we have a very special program there. We have very long-lasting efficacy profiles in preclinical experiments, very good tolerability profiles. And of course, now we need to translate this. And if this comes true, these really long-lasting efficacy profiles, to see that in patients, if this translation works, then this will be massive.
How big is the trial, and what's the kind of expectations on the whatever response rate and the long-lasting?
We do have, of course, clear expectations. We have an extremely talented, experienced CMO that has a very good idea, but cannot
comment. Okay. But I guess it's a pretty small, like a smaller trial. It's not phase 1 to A.
It's always good, important to have. You need to have sufficient data.
Yeah.
You need to be able to understand the drug. And with the trial, how we designed the trial, we are very confident that we will be able to do that.
Okay. But you cannot disclose how many patients you are targeting, or that's not on the clinicaltrial.gov design, or
I know exactly how much we will handle target. There's also a number in the clinicaltrial.gov, I guess, yes.
For those interested, you can check out the exact detail. Okay, now that's good. I didn't see that you were. I kind of guessed, but I didn't see that you were really first in class on this target. But that's
to the best of our knowledge.
Yeah,
there's so much going on, so many things under the radar.
That's good. On the fundraising side, on the financial side, you said you were also in charge, and you've been super successful there. And actually, that's how I first heard about you guys, via Sophia from Andera. I know very well, and she told me check them out, very solid. That was the Series B. I have the numbers here: $63 million dollars, May 2022, and she led the round, which was amazing. And she's great. She's great VC. And then before that, you had a $11 million Series A dollars again. July 2020, that was Biomat Partners, had the Gründerfond as well. And then the last round, B2, we can talk about the B2, but at least another round. I would probably call it more Series C, but March 2024, and that was the more than $100 million, $138 million equity venture, so the ex-LSP, Nextech, and you even had the US venture. Can you, I don't know, just share a bit how did it go through the fundraising? I guess that ADC is so crowded, so much traction behind ADC was, I guess, a challenge, but also a massive opportunity. Can you share a bit on how it went for the fund?
Yeah.
And you went the whole COVID thing, you raised specifically for the whole COVID.
Yeah. And maybe I can tell you a little bit about our last raise, because here it was really for us super important to build trust and get exposure in the US. It's such an important market. We are a European-based biotech company, and we will always be a European-based biotech company. But of course, we need to build the trust, and we need to get access to the financial markets there. So that was a key driver behind us doing this additional financing round, and we did it in a phase where still massive downturn, but of course we were confident to do it because of the ADC hype, and also because we have this partnership, the deal with BMS, that obviously gave us exposure and validation. So that's basically the reason why we went out and why we did this additional financing raise, and super happy that we
super successful
get these folks. And also, I mean, Nextech, for me, Nextech is a hybrid investor between Europe and US.
Mostly in Swiss, no?
They started in Switzerland, but they are super exposed to the US, and they have an extremely good network, very talented people, extremely great fund. And so that definitely helped us. And of course, this was a joint decision with our investors from the Series B and from the Series A round, because the timing was, for us, it was just right.
That sounds, and I guess it was almost 2 years after the round before, so was right time also to get that. I was about to ask you also on like why you didn't want a US investor to lead or co-lead, but I guess your answer was next step. I mean, being kind of half. And I guess you were discussing with many other VCs as well. I can imagine, like in all the rounds. Maybe one thing I'm curious also, you mentioned you had a Deep Track Capital in it and Fraser, and both are like really big specialty investors and the top. At least Deep Track, I recently, actually this week, I saw them like randomly in a figure that they have over 5 billion in the management, I think, and are basically in the top 15 healthcare funds, specialist funds globally, which is pretty crazy. And it's crazy that you managed to get them, especially on an earlier round. Usually they would invest probably a bit later, like pre-IPO / public companies. Can you talk, and also they're quite secretive, or at least they don't, not that visible. Can you talk a bit about that? How you got in contact with them? How was it? Like, how was the discussion? What do you think about them? Like?
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree to your analysis.
Okay.
The quality of their fund, and also Fraser. I mean, they're around since the 90s. So what amazing experiences within these funds. This is crazy. Yeah. And again, it is also here constantly talking, being there, interacting with people. And I was having several meetings with some of the folks from these funds, and then at some point they started the diligence, and in the end, it's always the quality of the science that gets the attention of these funds.
That's it. Yeah. And they didn't want to lead the round, though. That's the.
We have with Nextech and AQT fantastic parties to lead. So yeah,
that's good. Maybe on the to finish on Tubulis, on the vision of the company, from what I've heard as well, you really want to build it into a like large biotech versus optimize for exits. It's like this. I mean, obviously it depends on the option, but can you share a bit more on the vision and what it means in terms of decision you had to take?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we are super excited about the platform and we want to be a global leader in ADCs. And with the positioning that we have right now, I think we are on our way. And on top of that, we want to be pushing the boundaries of these molecules, innovating heavily. That's why we invest so quite a bit into our discovery work, into our platform, into new things. And we do it because we are actually quite convinced that due to the technology platform that we are one of the only ones that can do it in that way, and that's what we want to be seen for.
Okay. Can you share a bit about this and I think there's some parallels to you staying CEO or whatever, or CEO or not, but on staying independent versus exiting and kind of what's the best for patient. I feel like, at least let's say a bit from my personal analysis, so of course you can bring drugs to patient with big pharma, and in a lot of cases it works well and there's an amazing expertise there. But in general, I would say being more independent, longer, you can create more value, even patient financial value, but also patient value. Do you agree with it?
I think it, again, always depends.
Yeah.
It depends on the individual situation. Tubulis is super strong independently.
Yeah.
We have, just with this financing round, we have a lot of power to build this company, further with this company. We have a super hot area that we are playing in right now. So we can be super fast. We can be extremely fast, and we can take decisions extremely fast. And I think this is of great value for patients. And we understand our science best, and we can play our platform in the best way to continue to deliver innovation. I think this is why I am really focusing on building this company. But this doesn't need to be the case for everyone and always. I think it really depends. It depends.
Okay. And I guess you will, in any way, you always hear this, but I don't believe it fully, but you always hear that the best way to get a big exit is to build a company and the value for patients, which is true in some way, in whatever business, even in biotech, in whatever business. If you have amazing business metrics, whatever the industry is a metric, you get a better exit. But I still feel, and especially also I had some experience with exiting the first company, that there is some strategic and some decision that lead more to independent company or more optimized for exiting. And yeah, I guess you agree.
Yes, of course. And for me, it's always the focus needs to be what is best for the company and what is best for being able to build this company, keep opportunities, keep optionalities. That's my role. That's why I am hired as a CEO to create that.
And I was about to say it depends also a lot on the options and the opportunities you have. Yeah. That's good. Maybe to switch a bit more on the industry topics on the top of Tubulis. On ADCs, there are a few things that I find very, very interesting. We mentioned kind of the GenLab acquisition.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting to see that, let's say, kind of the first real $1 billion biotech acquisition from a biotech company, at least European biotech buying another biotech. It was I think it was West Coast based. I think they were mostly West Coast based, but it's interesting to see. But that's, yeah. And what's also interesting, or maybe you can comment on this, recently I saw that there was some less good news on the ADC front. I saw that BMS walked away from a deal with Eisai. I think it was a massive deal. It was $650 million upfront only 3 years ago, and they walked away. And then there was this massive Daiichi Sankyo deal with Merck, with the US Merck, $4 billion upfront. And then I don't know how many, $18 billion in milestone, October 2023. But they got a massive FDA rejection just recently. Can you comment a bit on this, on what's your feeling? Yeah, where is it? Yeah, what's your feeling about these news? How you read them?
Yeah, of course, there's when it comes to BMS and Eisai, there's probably a lot of things that we don't know about it. In the end, it's always challenging to develop drugs, and independent. And sometimes it's not the drug that is challenging, but it's different situations that are challenging. So I don't think this creates a general view on ADCs or has an impact on ADCs. And also Daiichi Sankyo those guys are leaders in the field. They have a really powerful platform, the really powerful ADCs. But also for them, it's sometimes challenging to, and I don't know the details there, but I think they will solve it. And they will solve, pretty sure.
They have a few billions to solve it, I guess. They kind of invented some of them.
They were the first ones to move topoisomerase 1 inhibitors.
Yeah. Can you talk more about the history of ADCs? What's one surprising thing is it's not the only, but it's one of the only really biotech technologies that is actually leading from Asia, or coming from Asia, Japan and China, but mostly Japan. You have IPS cells as well, but in general, there's a lot more from the US or Europe.
Also for ADCs,
yes.
A way ADCs have been created, or not created, but a lot of pioneering work has been done in the US. Seattle Genetics. They have nobody else before, to the best of my knowledge, but nobody else before Seagen has been doing manufacturing for ADCs.
Okay.
So they have basically showed us how it can be done. And then we, of course, there's pharma companies. There was a first wave. Immunogen is. We had.
They went Boston, right?
They were now acquired, but they had so many ADCs in their program. There was so much rich science coming from them. Then, of course, with Elahere being approved, this was a fantastic success for that company, and now got acquired. But a lot of pioneer work came also here from the US.
Because I don't remember the details, but I heard a story that was some Japanese, in the suburbs of Tokyo, scientist, and he was working with ADCs when no one at all was touching it, and he was not even recognized. I don't remember who it was, but I don't
know that story. So if you find that again, I will know it with you. That's interesting.
Because I think he was really forgotten, and no one cared, and he was working almost solo on it, and for a decade or so, and now more recognition. I will try to find it.
Yeah.
And that's the other interesting thing as well, that China seems to be really big on ADCs as well. Yep. At least BioNTech, I think they did 2 or 3 deals with Chinese ADC players. Can you talk about this a bit? How, I don't know, how is it true? How do you have also, and I guess you have some interactions, or do you see it? How do you see that?
There's a lot happening in China.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ADC development happening in China, and the quality is good.
Yeah.
The quality is really good.
Okay. Of everything. I like that.
Yeah. It's competition that we look at seriously and take seriously.
Yeah. That's good, because in Chinese biotech in general, first, things are going really fast. It's crazy. I'm looking at it also from my wife is Chinese, so I'm kind of exposed a bit to it, and she works in biotech as well. So usually have some discussions, some dinner discussion about it. But what's crazy is that, let's say, 10 years ago was not much or very little in Chinese biotech. A few generics are big, and some providers. On the CRO, they're already pretty big, or WuXi and stuff. Yeah. But on real biotech, and now it's crazy. In the last 5 years, it's crazy. And I saw even the stats.
Yeah.
I think 2023, there was more money raised in China alone, not even Asia, China alone, than all Europe combined in biotech.
I don't know that number, but it doesn't surprise me.
Crazy.
Yeah. And I think what also changed is when it comes to clinical development.
Yeah.
I mean, China is super fast in clinical because there you have these big centers and
to recruit patients.
Exactly. Super fast. But the big challenge there has always been that the treatment history of the patients has been completely different compared to the ones that you see in Europe or in the US.
Yeah.
So the patients just react completely different to your drug. So the translatability of data from one area to the other was just super tough. But now Chinese companies, they do their trials in the US as well. They start from day one and do it in the US. And that's definitely different.
Reminds me of, I don't remember the name of the ASCO result, was I think Chinese company, Chinese run trial, but they showed superior result to Keytruda in one indication. But it was only Chinese data or Chinese patient data. And then the huge question of, exactly what you mentioned of like, will FDA accept these data or recognize them?
Yeah.
But it's also not surprising. I mean, same as a European biotech. If you want FDA approval, you need to run a trial in the FDA. I mean, in the US.
Yeah, it makes sense. Even there, it makes sense. But the European patients and the US patients are very often treated super similarly. And of course, if you do a trial in a patient that has been exposed to various previous treatment lines, exposed to toxicity and the like, then
and the environment as well, I guess.
Then the environment. And then it's just behaving in a certain sense to your drug. For example, if you have a drug that makes neuropathy, and the patient already had 3 drugs that make neuropathy, then it will much easier and faster get neuropathy again. But if the patients did not get any drug that is causing neuropathy, and it's the first time, and the body can actually cope quite a bit until then you really have severe neuropathy. And that is the kind of differences that really make it hard to really translate them from one area to the other.
Yeah. I can imagine biomarkers also have massive difference in terms of
depending on the biomarker,
yeah, on biomarker in the biology. I mean, and even the US, I mean, it's still 60% Caucasian population thing in the US, and I guess in Europe, 80-90%. So I guess there's some more common genetics than with the Asian population, just to a reaction to drugs as well. That's maybe a last topic, which you mentioned a bit of like, okay, we are in ADC. Basically, topics about luck and timing, and you mentioned it a bit with ADC. I'm wondering how how luck plays a role in your whole career and with the Tubulis story, and how do you approach it, or how do you see it?
I mean, in the end, luck always helps. Luck in the sense of we're doing it at the right time, but for one example. But we also made the decision to do it now.
Yeah.
So it's not pure luck, right?
Yeah,
It's also, I mean, and I totally understand what you mean, but
I don't mean it in a degrading way. No. I don't mean it as 100% luck. Actually, I'm meaning in like how much luck.
You need it. You need a little bit of luck. But at the same time, and this is a good thing about the human, you always remember the positive and the luck, the situations where you've been lucky. But there's been also, of course, I cannot tell you how many doors have been closed for us. And then you just need to say, okay, but there will be a much better door opening very soon. So I continue and I go on.
Yeah. Because I mean, I like that. It's funny what you said that you remember, like, I feel like we remember definitely more lucky situation than unlucky, but I feel like especially at this, let's say, founder and CEO level, we tend to remember much more what we have done what was in our control than what was random/luck component. How do you how do you approach that?
I try to reflect and try to analyze situations, be rational about things, and then you can have a rational view on it.
You sound pretty humble and pretty very aware of it, or very I don't know if aware is the best word, but very rational about it and reflecting on it.
I try.
Same discussion cannot be perfect. Try. No, I mean, because I think that's one factor as well. When again, not in a degrading way at all, but when I looked at your story and when I looked at Tubulis, there is definitely a factor of being in the right space in the right time. Of course, I mean, what is it? Einstein said that whatever, luck smiles only to the opportunist or whatever. Or you need to take the decision and to provoke luck as well, or be there when there's luck that shows. But still, I mean, that the space is so hot is basically kind of outside your control. Or you were there in your PhD already. I don't know why you went into ADCs, but I mean, you were basically unlucky at the beginning that no one wanted to do it, and then very lucky and very hard to isolate how much difference it would have done. But for sure, for example, on the fundraising, I mean, would have been less hot. You have probably a factor of whatever, 2, 3, 4x difference or 5x.
Yeah, it could be. And I mean, we had one, when we did the Series B finance, we did it in the right timing, not because we knew before, but indeed now I can say it was the right timing. Because just after us closing that, the finance market was dead.
Yeah.
So just 2 months later, kicking off the finance.
You mean the 2022?
Yeah.
Well,
could have known what.
Yeah, that's a lot of, yeah, something. I mean, there's definitely involved, and I guess. I mean, the whole discussion, there are some moments where you say also some luck, but you're also very good at provoking it. So overall, I think it wraps up even what you said of being in a biotech family. I mean, this is definitely outside your control, but you can also what you make out of it and how you not profit from it, but how you absorb it.
Yeah,
it's also everything connected. So I think it wraps up. It's good. Really, we started with something connected to luck. We finish with something for amazing. Congrats with everything.
Thanks.
Continue the whole adventure. It's amazing.
Thank you so much. It was fantastic.
Thank you. Thanks for listening to the end. I'm impressed by Dominik's stories and how much we have in common as bio founders. I'm also impressed by the quality of the platform and the level of ambition. If you also enjoyed this episode, please hit the follow, or review button. Any of these actions would help us a lot. I would be also curious to hear what you think. So if you could leave a comment on any platform you are below, or shoot me an email at philip@flot.bio. All right, catch you in the next episode.